but this is Reef, and basically he's in sub 2. So that's how we actually like started talking together through a friend. And yeah, he's looking to wholesale right now, but he's out of Florida.
Sunny South Florida. Where is everybody at? Are you guys in Jersey too?
Yep.
I'm in Atlanta.
Atlanta, cool.
Right now I'm in Delaware, but I'll be in Jersey in 10 minutes.
Gotcha. Tri-state, nothing like it.
Diana, did you see the fourplex that Rick sent?
I did not see a fourplex. Did he only send it to you? Isn't this something? I do my people and they send you good deals and they cut me out.
He emailed it to me like an hour ago. Yeah, about an hour.
Last one he sent was terrible. It was a single for like $225,000, and I wanted to ask him this morning.
Mm-hmm. You broke up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, the last one he sent me was a single, and I wanted to ask him if he had been drinking this morning because it was like $225,000, 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I was like, okay, you must have just been bored.
Oh boy.
But no, I didn't get the fourplex.
It's actually decently priced. I'm gonna forward it to you. It's 150 grand on Zillow, and that sounds pretty good.
Where is it?
It's in Salem. It's in Grant Street.
Wait, and it's 4 units?
Yeah, for 150.
For 150? That sounds awesome. I mean, granted, it's Salem. Kevin, don't say anything. Kevin hates Salem. It's like the bane of his existence.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I mean, but you have to have 4 units for 150. What is that? Like 35 grand a door? 37.5 a door?
Yeah, 37.5 a door. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
So I'm gonna actually.
No, does it need like work?
So everyone could see right now. So there's like absolutely no info on here at all whatsoever. It just says investment property. This quad has 4 long-term tenants in place, receiving over 26K per year. Call for more info. So I want to just ask.
I've seen that house before. So it was priced higher though. Can you see the history on Zillow?
Yeah. So it was listed for like 109, I believe. Yeah, 109 back in 2020, and then I guess it just sat on the market, so he went back to renting it out.
Okay, I did remember seeing that house.
Yeah, there was a pending sale, it says, but God knows what that was.
It could be anything. I mean, if it has tenants, it has a CO, and that's one thing that is nice about New Jersey. Every time there's tenant turnover, you need a new certificate of occupancy, so they inspect the units. So if it's been turned over in like the last year or so, the certificate of occupancy is pretty up to date, so it couldn't have been falling apart, which is a plus. But if tenants stay a long time and they're not like Section 8, there's no like re-inspection.
I see. What else? So I'm gonna ask him for a P&L, if he can get that, and also like some more pictures, if anything, because I'm only looking at. It looks like a Google Street image of the property.
Yeah. You might be able to look at the last listing too, because if it was listed by a different agent, they might have had pictures, and this one might have been easy to either take their own pictures or at least take them from the last listing.
Yeah, and then also like unit count. Okay, well, yeah, this is something that's available right now. And then also I had Reef4 here make like a sub 2 post about private money lenders at 10%. Let's see what that.
Would you mind if I send this link to one of my boys? He's a real estate agent. He wants to join in.
I don't care. Diane, does it matter?
No, I'm open to anybody who wants to hop on.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna send him the link. He's in South Florida too. His name is Ramon.
And then also, what was I gonna ask? So yeah, we have those two, the first one's under contract already, Diane, the probate one. And there's good news on that one. It might not even need probate because the original mortgage.
Oh, the one from Gene.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
that's
mortgage,
awesome.
yeah, that mortgage turns out not to be even recorded. So if that's really the case, then no one even needs to go through probate. We just close. So I have
That's
35.
great.
Yeah. So I have like 35K on a personal loan on that one, and then the rest through a PML.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out everything for the other one. I'm gonna go take a look on Wednesday. He's gonna get me inside.
Nice.
But yeah, so I really think the hard money kind of just like destroys the entire deal, because I actually just calculated all of the payments plus the points that Young wants plus the investors fees,
Hmm.
and it's coming out to like 13% interest rate, and then around like $8,000.
Yeah, because I mean, hard money is not necessarily meant, like, it's definitely not long term. It's very short term financing. It's really meant to get in and out quickly.
Yeah,
And when you have deals like these ones where they're a little bit smaller, the numbers won't always pencil out.
right.
Especially if it's not a flip. Like the one that Rick sent us, that
Mhm.
was across the street from the one I have, they would probably pencil out better on something like that if you were going to flip it, because you're in and out rather quickly. Even if you had to hold it for a year, your profit is one big bang and not like incremental monthly,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, deposits. And that's where it really makes a difference.
Mhm. So what would you
But it's
suggest?
always good to have options.
No, 100%. So at least for this first property, I got the financing figured out. But for the second one, I think it would just break the deal, in my opinion. So I don't know. What do you think?
So when it comes to doing like hard money,
Yeah, on that second unit.
I mean, I definitely think it's not going to be. I will forward you a local lender here in town, and they only have, I think it's like 10 banks, 10 branches or less, and they're in and around Salem County.
Yeah.
So it's the lender I went through because I was having issues finding funding for the house on Market Street that you came down to see,
Yeah.
5-unit. So they're actually funding it, and their requirements are just a little different because they're what's called like a portfolio lender, which means they hold everything in-house. Where lenders like Gina and Young, what they do is they're brokers, so they farm it out to other lenders, but then they go and sell that loan on the secondary market. So there's certain parameters they have to stay in to make sure it's sellable. And the way I basically equate it is like if you go to the grocery store and you see this like shiny bottle of milk and everything's clean next to the dusty one that has a dent in it, which one do you want? The nice clean one. You don't want the dented one. And that's
Right.
kind of like some of these smaller deals in smaller counties are like the dusty milk, and nobody buys the dusty milk. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
portfolio lenders tend to look past the dust. They get that they could just take a Clorox wipe and it'll be gone. So I would reach out to him, and I will shoot you his info, or I'll share the contact with you. And I think the contact has like his work phone number and his cell phone.
Okay.
So I will share his contact. I know he does commercial loans, so his loans may not be like amortized over 30. And I think Kevin actually has a lender that he went through on a smaller deal. Kev, who's the guy from it's not Artisans, is it Sun East? Is it Frank?
Yeah, Frank.
So So I know Frank does smaller deals. He just
Mhm.
wants them to be stabilized. So in my case, that wasn't a possibility because 2 of the units were empty. But
Yeah.
in this case, for you, the units are occupied, so the property is stabilized.
Mhm.
Right.
And I would say, honestly, I would think that's probably going to be a better yield for you because the closing fees tend to be less, dramatically less. So the deals pencil out a little bit better. And I'm finding so far that even though it's a commercial loan, it's not amortized over 30 years, it's amortized over 25. And the rate is only fixed for 5 years. But in 5 years, you'll be so far like removed that your options will open up greatly and you can always refinance. But I definitely think on these smaller deals in smaller communities, a little.
Last thing I heard was smaller communities.
Oh, I'm sorry. So a local bank, I think, is the way to go on these smaller deals in like small communities like Salem County.
Yeah, no, I agree 110%. And Gene was saying, the same exact thing. Next to that McDonald's, there's a bank that got shut down. And he said, a majority of all his properties were basically financed through that bank that got shut down.
So I know the bank, like I know where the property is, but I didn't live here then. I wonder what bank it was.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I could definitely find out. What bank?
You guys, do you guys buy and hold properties too, like yourselves, Diana and Kevin?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do. Yes.
Like any market in particular do you work with or?
Right now I have properties in Wilmington, Delaware, and I'm starting down in Macon, Georgia.
Gotcha.
I have the Lehigh Valley, I have Philadelphia, and I have Southern New Jersey.
Gotcha.
Where is Lehigh Valley?
Where? It's in PA, and it's probably about 90 minutes north of me.
Oh,
So like a lot of people know like Hershey Park or Dorney Park.
yeah.
It's that area. So like Dorney Park is in the Lehigh Valley. Hershey Park is like 20 more minutes north, but it's close enough.
Okay. So yeah, that's like 2 hours for me, give or take.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let me also find out for this fourplex because I feel like this fourplex would have been a really nice deal to even just get into.
Absolutely. And I definitely think that you'll be able to get lending from a local bank for it, or even honestly from Gina or Young,
Mhm.
just because it's all residential and it's a larger deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the rents on it are super low. They're averaging about 542 a unit. So there's definitely,
That's
room
not
for
good.
the rent there.
What's the makeup?
It doesn't say anything. It's just a 9-bed, 4-bath. So if I had to guess, it would be 3 2-1s and a 3-1.
I don't know if this is.
So there's a lot of room for
Yeah.
rent to grow. Rent can double, more than double
Yeah.
on some of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely want to know where they are in their leases, because either only 2 of the units are rented or they're rented very, very low.
There's not even enough.
This is my boy Ramon. He just hopped on. Ramon, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, nothing much. How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah, Ramon's an
What we're
agent
doing.
here in South Florida.
Nice.
Hey, Ramon, welcome to the call.
Thank you for having me. How's everything going?
Not too bad for me. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Awesome. So, I mean, as of right now, that's the only thing on my plate. What about you guys?
Oh my goodness, my life is dramatic right now when it comes to real estate. So for me, I am working on the 5-unit in Salem. Everything so far is looking good. The bank is reaching out to appraisers this week. I guess they get like 3 or 4 bids on the appraisal, and then I can choose the one I want. So I'll be doing that hopefully this week, and then we'll get the appraisal back, and that will all move forward. I needed 25% down plus the closing. So to come up with that money, I refinanced another property that I already had. We had done some renovations, tenant turnover. Unfortunately, I did not stabilize the property. So I waited to do the turnover until after I had gotten rid of some tenants that I had. They were great before COVID, and then COVID hit and they were terrible. So I had to get rid of them. I waited for both of them to leave, rehab both the units, not like a major rehab, just really like paint, cleaned it up, upstairs, new appliances. I had the upstairs tub reglazed and then some patchwork. And then one of the toilets, I don't know what happened, but I went in and my contractor was telling me like, Di, the toilet is too close to the vanity and you can't flush it. And all I can think is, what do you mean? Like, I've had a tenant there for years. Like, nobody's ever complained. I'm like, it's fine. It's your imagination. But I went there to check it out. And sure enough, I have smaller hands. And I could not get my hand in here to flush the toilet. I had to, like, get something from my car to, like, stick in there and, like, pull the handle down. It was so weird. So I called the contractor. I said, hey, we got to do something. Either replace the vanity, change it out, or replace the toilet. Something's not right. So he goes to replace the toilet, a job I think is probably going to cost me $200-300. And not only does he have to take up the toilet, but something had been leaking. And because the last tenant never went into the basement, they didn't notice it. And the whole floor was like buckling under the toilet. And that's why the toilet was closer to the vanity, because the floor was actually leaning. And it happened just due to water damage. So they had to pull up all the bathroom floor. Luckily, my contractor is a great guy. He was able to salvage all the tile that was on the bathroom floor. So I did not have to pay for any new tile. He was able to like pull it up, keep it from breaking. He replaced the subfloor, fixed the leak, put the tile back down, and put a new toilet in. So long story short, because there were no tenants, when I went to refi and pull the cash out, I couldn't pull out 70% like I was planning. I could only pull out 60%. So it left me a little bit shorter than I was hoping for, but there should be still enough to close this deal. So now I am working on the next deal in Penns Grove that we did the live with, but unfortunately the phone was cutting out. So with that deal, the original asking price was $280. The seller had lowered the price because it's set on the market. The final price we agreed on is $220, which is still higher than I wanted to pay, but good for the deal. It's a mixed-use commercial property, so it's got a residential duplex. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath on the top floor, and 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on the bottom floor. Luckily, both tenants seem to be good paying tenants and they want to stay, and the rents are good. So the upstairs is renting for $1,570 and the downstairs is renting for $1,350. The 2 commercial spots are complete like rehabs. They're down to the studs. So that is something that I have to account for. And then for the money from that one, I am refinancing the property that I have in Salem, Sean, the one that you met me at. And Kevin, you know, as the Playroom. So I'll be refinancing that deal. and also trying to pull money from another deal that I'm waiting to see if I'm going to be able to. If I can't, then I'm working on plan B to see what creative sources I can pull this money from. And that is where I am on my deals. That's the biggest thing. Kev, what do you got going on?
Oh man. So I've got both of my properties of Wilmington, they've got something going on right now. One of them I just didn't got an appraisal done on it, so I'm waiting for the appraisal to get back so I can pull some money out of there. And it honestly looks like that's just gonna be rolled right into my other property in Wilmington. I got a phone call from my contractor today. That one in particular, I just finished an eviction on, and she called L&I on me, and apparently that unit is not in as good condition as I thought it was. I haven't been in the unit in over a year personally. My property manager is supposed to take care of that, and yeah, they are getting fired as soon as these repairs are done. But so Nelson, the contractor, he called me today. The front roof where it covers the screened in porch is completely rotted. So we have to replace the entire roof on the front porch. So he just
Oh
gave
my
me a
God.
call. Yeah, he just gave me a call, and Home Depot called me and made a phone sale. And so it looks like a lot of the money from Jackson is going to be rolled over into Carter Street for the repairs. Once Carter's all repaired up, I have a deal going through I have a tentative deal going through to sell it back to the owner that I purchased it from. It's just not in a really great neighborhood, and the tenant base there, I don't want to deal with those type of tenants. So we're gonna be getting rid of it as long as he comes through with it. If not, then I mean I can just rent it out to Section 8 and collect the monthly rents on it. That's no big deal for me. The biggest issue that I've had with it is just a non-paying tenant at that property. So I'm either gonna get out of it or put it on Section 8, either way. So but outside of that, the house in Macon, that one I just finished the rehab on. I just got tenants for it. We're going to be doing the lease signing here in a couple of days. Once that gets all leased up, I'm going to be refinancing that and pulling some money out of that one to put into my next project. And I'm still looking for my next project, whether that be in Wilmington or in Macon. So yeah, that's really all I've got going on.
Evan, are those single family units?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And did you buy them like in the intentions of just buying and holding like Burr, or like a
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first two that I bought, the two in Wilmington, I bought those tenant occupied. So there wasn't like a technical Burr there. The first one on Carter Street, I bought that for $35,000. And I took it to the bank a couple months later to do a cash out refi on it. And I can't remember what it appraised for, but I was able to pull out 50 grand. So I got my 35 grand back plus some, and then the difference of it, I was able to purchase Jackson with.
Wow.
So yeah.
Did you just buy that one cash, or were you leveraging to buy that one?
For the first one, Carter, I bought that one on a Best Egg loan.
A what loan?
A personal loan through Best Egg.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What is your
We
interest
got to
rate?
get creative.
Oh yeah.
Do those personal loans, like, what's the interest rate on that?
So back then, so I bought that one at the end of 2021. So this was like literally at the end of 2021 in October. So this was right before the Fed started raising the rates and everything. But the personal loan that I took on that one was a 9.99%.
Right.
I have a current Best Egg loan, and that interest rate is like 17.99. So I mean, if I had to do it with the 17.99, I still would do it all over again, no doubt.
Right now, I just got quoted through PenFed for 12.75.
Okay.
So that's like what's going, rate right now. Just through PenFed is what I, got. And I was thinking, Diane, like, you know, worst comes to worst, I would see if I can get, you know, approved for another personal loan for the
I
second.
mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, even when I bought my personal residence, that's how I did it. I took out, I think I had a Fortiva loan for like $4,000. I had a lending club loan for like 10. I took 13 out of my 401k. Like I just pulled money from everywhere. And, you know, a personal residence is a little bit different than, you know, an investment because the numbers have to work on an investment where with my personal residence, I didn't have that extra income. So it was all coming like, all right, what's replacing this? But if the number, like I always tell you, if the numbers work, and I say the same thing to Kevin, like that's the biggest thing. Do the numbers work? And if the numbers work, go ahead and make it happen because worst case scenario, sooner or later, you're going to either refinance or you're going to cash out of that deal and leverage it to buy something else.
Yeah, exactly. And
So
I was explaining to Reef a little bit earlier that, hey, I mean, even if I pay like these high interest rate loans to, you know, acquire these properties, I'm only coming out of pocket maybe $200-300 a month on each unit until I refi. So it's not really like it's killing me, you know?
Yeah, even though the interest
Not
rates are
only that-
higher, like even though the interest rates are higher, like the interest rates aren't going to be high forever. So the refi is definitely, you know, the way to go when the interest rates do come down. But it's not like you're the one paying for those loans. Like your tenants are paying for those at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And then you also have to remember rent is going to increase. Like tenants
Right.
expect
Of
a
course.
rent increase every year. So
Mhm.
whether it's $25 a unit or $50 a unit, like let's say hypothetically you grab both these units and you're just break even or you're $100, you know, short and you're coming out of pocket $100. And let's say it took you 10 years to refinance. What is it? $120 per house a year times 10, $12,000. That was your money. But by the time rents increase at $50 a year, it's going to be less than that. And if you
Right.
came to me and said, hey, here's this house, give me $12,000, you'd walk away with it all day, every day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. You just want to make sure that you can float it. And the other thing you have to remember too is if you ran your numbers correctly, even though you're coming out of pocket $100, you still are putting money, you're putting like 30% aside if you're running numbers the way I showed you. So you
Mhm.
still got reserves, you still got, you know, your vacancy, your CapEx. And if you're keeping your tenants, your vacancy you really didn't have. So am I suggesting you take the money out of it right away? No. But once you refi and you get a little bit more money in your pocket or you've gotten a little more deals, you can take that money that you were putting in right back out within 2-3 years because you didn't have that vacancy.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
then at that point, you didn't even really spend any money. You were break even or you were less than break even.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
Yeah,
total sense.
definitely.
And I mean, that's a huge thing that I always tell people to be aware of. So I run numbers very conservatively and I teach people that I work with to do the same. So that way you don't put your business into a deficit that you can't get out of. So if you're running numbers conservatively, it might appear that you're coming out of pocket $100 a month, but really you're putting that money in reserve. So you're investing into your business. And that's not a bad thing. The other thing is, like I said, as rents continue to increase, your loan is going to be getting paid down. Not to mention, and I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, but my CPA writes off all the interest that I pay on these loans. And like Kevin said, I'm not even the one paying them, the tenant is.
Right.
And the interest is fully tax deductible on top of it.
Right.
So for me, don't put yourself into a hole that you can't survive from, but it's definitely worth it a little bit because, like I said, if it's $100 short, in 2 years, you're back to break even with the rent increase. And Sham, the ones you're looking at, honestly, if you do one turnover, your rents are going to increase because their rents are just way too low. So
Yeah.
you could potentially increase them, that shortage, the first year.
100%. And I'm honestly hoping that happens. You know, that I start being strict with them and they don't really like me and they end up leaving or something like that. You know, in the
Just
meanwhile,
remember that is where you'll spend the majority of your money is tenant turnover.
understood. So yeah, like you said, until they leave, I don't mind just keeping them there.
Absolutely. And the good thing is, like, you have a good like foundation, and you're already building. Like, you're great at networking. It's a skill I definitely wish I had, because I'm not good at it. I'm really shy, so it just does not work for me well. But when I make relationships and I do build them, I build close relationships, and that's what you're building now. So your tribe will be there to like support you and help guide you, and that's a great thing. And it'll really go from there. And it does boil down to how you're managing the property. You know what I mean? Like, Kevin is a perfect example. So Kevin and I differ on the amount of hands-on we like to do. So Kevin has a property manager. So he's learning through experience the importance of like vetting your property manager, really getting good recommendations and feedback, and then making sure that you manage your property manager. Where I self-manage. So my experience is very different. And, you know, I definitely believe in extreme ownership. So I know that any issues I've come into, I can usually tie it back to something I know I was supposed to do and didn't do, or, you know, something I could learn from. And I'm sure Kevin is going through the same things right now, because we were just talking and we're very candid with each other. So I definitely told him, I was like, see, this is why you should have Rick manage your properties. But it goes back to, like, you have to be on top of somebody regardless. This is not a hands-on business, or excuse me, a hands-off business. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, real estate is passive. But it also depends on what capacity you're doing real estate in. Like, if you're doing syndications and you're the money, yes, it's extremely passive. But also, if you're not paying attention, somebody could run off with all your money. If you're doing real estate and you're self-managing, I definitely still suggest that you take at least 5% and then use that to pay yourself. So on the example that you have, like with the Salem properties, are you cash flowing? No, but I have you putting away 10% for property management. Maybe you pay 5% to yourself, and then you cut that reserve by 5% because you're self-managing. But you still run the numbers with 10 because you might get tired of self-managing. It might be something you decide you don't like. Like, I know for me, I don't like it altogether, and that's one of the ways Kevin and I got close, because I took everything I don't like, I made a list, I made a job description, and then I hired Kevin to do it for me. And I said, here's some money, sprinkle. Here are the things you have to do. And he went and, like, he did my property inspections, he did my lease ups, he followed up on maintenance calls. He contacted the contractors for me, and I got to do the things I love, which was finding the deal, analyzing the deal, getting the funding, and going out to look at properties. And then I got to talk to him every day and talk about real estate, which I love too. But he did the things that I did not want to do, and he coordinated those things. And then he up and abandoned me. So. But it's figuring that out, and it takes some time, you know what I mean, to figure out what you do and you don't like. I think part of the reason Kevin hired a property manager, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kev, is that you moved away and now you're super far, so it's harder to manage.
Yeah, that along with the city legalities, like legally cannot manage myself outside of if I don't live within the county of Newcastle County in Delaware. So that but not only that, even here in Macon, it's going to be through property management. You know, it's just that extra layer and separation from you and the tenant. You don't have to put your emotions into it when you're dealing with the property manager. And for me, I struggle definitely with that aspect, and, you know, letting the emotions get, you know, drive my decisions sometimes. So when you have that extra layer of the property management, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to deal with the tenant and their sob story. The property manager deals with that completely. And if the property manager needs to come to you with anything, they're coming to you with straight facts, and you're able to make a logical based decision without the emotion involved. So I've definitely seen, you know, the perks of having the property management, but I definitely understand why some people wouldn't, you know, opt to do property management as well.
I got a couple of questions about this whole thing. So one, are you able to tell them like, hey, I'm not the owner of the property, or you have to tell them that you are the owner of the property, like being a, a self-manager?
So you do not have to tell. However, if they're smart enough, they can. I mean, it doesn't take much to find out who the owner is. All you have to do is type in like Salem County water bill or water and sewer, and your name pops right up. I like to tell people that I am the manager, which is what I am. I am managing the property. I also would be careful, because if I came straight out and said to you, oh, do you own the property? And you told me no, and then I find out you do, I know that you're a liar. You know what I mean? And what kind of trust level are you building with your tenant at that point? However, if somebody says to you, hey, are you the owner of the property? You can say, I am a partial owner, or you could just avoid the question altogether and say, why? Is there something wrong? Like, you can answer with a question. If they say, no, I just really want to know the owner, I'll say something like, well, I'm sure, as you know, with most landlords, you hardly ever meet the owner, but I am going to manage the property. I'll be the face that you're seeing. If you need anything, I'm here to support you.
That's smart. And then number two, am I going to deal with any legality side of things, since I'm not living in Salem, but at least I'm from New Jersey?
Salem County does not have that rule, at least not that I'm aware of. Philadelphia doesn't have that rule either. However, Section 8 does in Philadelphia.
I see.
So there are certain, you know what I mean? You might need to have just a registered agent inside Salem County, but I'm here, just use the office address. And it's the same thing. Like, when I was going to buy in Delaware, Kevin lived in Delaware, and I definitely was putting his address on stuff.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, as long as you have somebody who can say, like, okay, you've made me aware, it's okay. The other thing is, finding out who owns the property will also depend on whether or not the property is under your personal name or an LLC. Because technically, if it's under an LLC, you are not the owner.
Right.
And I haven't met anybody yet who's going to say, well, do you own the LLC that owns the property? Like, none of my tenants in the 20 years I've been doing this have come out and said that. So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I guess if it's structured
But
right,
if-
technically that should be a no as well. You have like a holding company.
Yeah.
There you go. And it all depends on, like, you build these things and these systems as you go along. So out of the, what did I have? Out of the 15 to 17 properties I've owned, up until recently, they've all been under my personal name. I saw no reason to put them into an LLC. LLCs are not free. I know a lot of people are like, oh, get an LLC. It's all this protection. And don't get me wrong. Again, I am not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. So you can take my advice with a grain of salt. But LLCs are not free. It costs money to maintain them each year. And if you're not maintaining them correctly, you will pierce the corporate veil. So all the protection you thought you had, you won't have.
Exactly.
So unless there's a benefit for you and you're going to invest the time to do it correctly, or the benefit that you're getting is something other than like the legal limited liability, it's not something I personally would jump right into. Now, for me, I am starting to see other benefits, so I'm getting things structured a little bit more correctly. But it's
Has
just
anyone
my
had any
structure and my plan.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Has anyone had any luck subject to or no?
Yeah, I recently just got one under contract. We're gonna wholesale that one. That one's in Katy, Texas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was a divorce situation, and the lady, she just got sick and tired. She came back from vacation, and she was like, just made another mortgage payment, and I really can't afford this without my husband being around anymore. So yeah, this offer we made like 3 months ago, and it came from an agent, so it was relatively passive, but it was all because of a relationship I made like maybe 7-8 months ago.
Oh, wow. So they took 3 months to get back to you. And then you're like, oh, wow, this came out of nowhere. Oh.
And an agent brought me that one. I'm paying off the agent, like, out of the entire thing, basically 0 cash to seller. believe 7,000 to the agent, and that's it. And we're-
Okay, and then you're paying the agent directly.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, it's just my buddy Nick and I we're just splitting all the costs on that, and then we're gonna go ahead and turn that contract around for a 25K assignment.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That one was honestly, I haven't really had too much luck myself with subject twos, but they've been doing a ton of volume, all just through agent outreach, and that was like my first one through an agent.
How'd like the contract go? Like, did you already know exactly what to basically provide to the homeowner, or you kind of like were scrambling? Because I feel like I haven't done one yet, so I'd probably be scrambling to get all the right contracts in place.
Yeah, so I have no knowledge about contracts or anything like that. We ended up, neither does my buddy Nick, and he does a lot of these deals, but we basically just have a TC, and she specializes in creative finance. So any of the questions
Oh, okay.
that the agent has, or even the seller has, we just put her on a Zoom together with us, and then she just answers everything. And then if they have any objections or anything, she'll go ahead and pull up the contract, explain whatever needs to be explained, and then goes from there.
Oh, nice. It's good to have. It's reassuring for sure.
100%, because we have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to the contract. Like 20 pages long, and it gets pretty complex.
Yes, that's how exactly how I would feel, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like, someone says yes, and you're like, okay, damn, what do I do now?
yeah. I really want to buy one for myself, like out here locally, like down South Jersey, or maybe even Texas. That's like a multiple unit building.
Oh, you're in Jersey now?
Yeah. I'm just
Okay, cool.
having a tough time finding a really nice one. Everyone's just grabbing those up, picking them up left and right.
Yep. Yeah, I'm from Jersey too, me and Arif. So interesting, you're from Jersey.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Diane's from Jersey as well. And then
Oh, cool. It's a Jersey gang.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in Florida now, but
Ev grew up
that's
in
where
Jersey too.
We
that's
find
where
a
I
way.
grew up.
Find
Yeah,
each other.
exactly. Yeah, I've been trying to like look a lot on prop
So
stream.
yeah, just a quick question. Me and Ramon are kind of new to like cold calling real estate agents and like direct to seller. Do you guys underwrite the deals ahead of time, or do you just make that rapport connection with them and then you figure out all the other like information afterwards?
So I think for me, I don't do any kind of wholesale, so
Hmm.
it's going to be a different answer for me, I think, from
Okay.
what you guys are looking to do.
Right. What about you, Kev?
No, I don't do any of that either.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know.
So you're more like Burr method, fix and flip, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many ways, man. So many ways.
So many, yeah.
There is no wrong way to make money in real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like in the beginning I was just getting like, looking all over the place like a squirrel with nuts all over around. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we had to just like hone down to a couple of things where I would just drive myself nuts.
Hmm.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of hot places, like like Arizona seems like a crazy hot market. I'm actually in Arizona right now, but it seems like Arizona has a lot of deals going off. Colorado, just trying to find the market that works. But I think the agent outreach is slowly becoming more popular because a lot of people are saying, why not contact an agent that might have 10 people they're dealing with, and if they can't sell something within 3 months, they're kind of pressured. And if you say, hey, I could cut you a check for $5,000, $10,000, now they're kind of like a motivated seller as well. They kind of have your back. So it's just trying to figure out how to get in contact with these agents and then trying to make something work.
So
I think it really depends on what your goals are too.
yeah.
Like, what's the end game for you?
To be honest, right now it's just about like assigning contracts, building capital, and then from there, having houses that's within your portfolio. Just slowly build that cash flow over time. It's definitely going to take time, but I think it just takes a lot of reaching out specifically. The more people you reach out to,
Absolutely.
it's a numbers game at the end of the day. I feel like that's just life. The more people you reach out to, then you're going to hit one sooner or later. So, I'm watching a lot of videos, people do like a lot of email blasting, text blasting, and like at 1 out of maybe 100 people they contact is a deal, you know, but that's 100 different houses
Absolutely.
you have to try to contact within your, you know, your regular daily life of, you know, everyone here I'm sure is busy and got some stuff going on. So, you know, it's just trying to find the time.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's like 100 hot leads, not just 100 people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because you know, Nick, he probably had like 150 to 300 text messages being sent out to agents every day for probably the past like 5-6 months now. And we've only got 2 agents to do repeatedly, like, you know, ongoing business with us. So it's definitely like a huge numbers game. And then as
Mhm.
far as like even my first wholesale goes, I probably made like 5,000 phone calls for that first deal, maybe more.
Yeah,
So
see, it's a
Oh,
grind
wow.
for sure. Hmm.
yeah, so until like if you don't have like system put into place where you're getting spit out hot leads, then yeah, it's like huge grind.
Wholesaling is hard work. I think that's why I've never done it. It's hard. You
Yeah,
guys are working hard.
Yeah,
agreed. We appreciate the work though.
that's
Yeah,
why I found
fact.
like, you know, what Diani does, what Kevin does so attractive, and even the multifamily space, like I told you about Diani, because you know we're literally making everyone else wealthy but ourselves. You know, it's like
Yeah.
how like you know how
Oh, you
one
mean the signing contracts, like
yeah,
stuff like that?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like today money and then it's gone.
yeah. Hmm.
And but you know what these two guys are doing, it's gonna last for generations.
Absolutely. That's the plan.
That's the plan.
That's definitely the plan. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I know I just did a post about it probably like a week ago, and I talked a lot about having, you know, a solid game plan. And Sham, next time you and I are talking offline, that's one thing I do. And I told you, I think I do want to like sit down and really map out your game plan, because when I started, I didn't have one. I had an idea of like where I wanted to go and what I wanted it to look like. But because I didn't actually have a roadmap, I definitely could have been long retired years ago.
Right.
And there's so many things I would do differently. And, you know, I talk to Kevin about it constantly, like making sure you have a roadmap to get you where you're going, because you will get there so much faster. Like, you would not get on the road to drive to Florida and not put your GPS in. Like, you know, you have to head south, but how much longer would it take you if you're just like, I'm just going to go south until I get there? Like, I know the general direction. Like, you don't do things like that because it would take you so much longer. And now I've basically broken it down to the point where I know for a fact I can take almost anybody from 0 to retired or work optional within 10 years or less, because my map is so refined at this point that I know what I'm doing. And as long as they're going to put in the work, that I wish I would have had that when I started, because I would have been done already.
Mhm.
And I think that's key, like knowing where your optimal destination is and not a general destination. So, you know, how much do you need to retire, all these things, or how much do you need to live the life you want to live, and what does that life look like, is going to be a huge thing. And that's the thing kind of with wholesaling, is like, I'm not going to say it's fast money. It's definitely not easy money, but it's kind of like, you know, it's lump sum money, like flipping, where it can be considered more of like an instant gratification. And if you don't have plans for it, it's definitely very easy to spend it all and not realize that you're not building wealth. And you are definitely, hands down, you're doing more work than I do on a daily basis.
I don't
Like,
disagree.
your work is hard.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So it's like, how do we get you out of that like constant rat race, that need to acquire more leads, to talk to more people, to generate the same amount of income?
And you're working more efficiently and smarter, you know. You're
Absolutely.
leveraging, you know, your time and energy just a lot better.
Yeah. And I actually just saw somebody jump on the call. DuPont, are you there?
I've been here. I didn't realize I had
Oh, I'm
myself on
sorry. I
mute.
didn't see you.
No, it's
Okay.
okay.
Well, we're glad you jumped on.
I appreciate you guys. Thank
So,
you.
no problem. So DuPont, actually, I work with DuPont too, and I met him because my contractor's wife actually referred him to me to have some work done in one of my units. And I feel like in this business, you have to network, and the more you network, the more successful you'll be. Like I was saying before, I'm definitely shy, so I struggle to network, but I'm passionate about the business, and I think people a lot of times will see that in me, and it's relatable. So I'll get people who come to me, and I love to share the information. And I feel like there's so much space for people to be successful in this industry. I want us to be successful, and there's only a handful of people who are actually going to do the work. So I feel like there's never going to be enough competition that everybody can't eat, if that makes sense.
And
Makes
I'm
sense.
working on making a Discord. So I'm going to be helping out hosting an event in North Jersey. And it's going to be ongoing. So I'm going to be meeting every single person that walks through the door and having them sign up, and then enter the Discord. So anyone that wants to just network, whatever it is, speaking to real estate, all different kinds of people, I'm going to just build a Discord with just a ton of members in there to go ahead and just network instead of like having to go out
Awesome.
away to an event or anything like that.
I think that's so awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm definitely, like I was telling you, I'm definitely planning to start hosting meetups next month. So I'm excited for that. I want to do some in person. Hopefully, like I can definitely clear some extra time and some space now that the playroom is moving. So we'll be able to use all that space, but definitely virtually. And I think that's huge, just being able to hop on a call like this one and help each other stay accountable, see what's going on, offer ideas and feedback. And I know I do that with people in my tribe all the time. And sometimes you're struggling and you're like, how am I going to come up with the money for this? And somebody's like, oh, just do this. And
Right.
it occurs to them because they've done it before, where it might not occur to you because it's something you've never heard of. And it allows you to have a different avenue to close a deal that you might have missed on your own.
100%. Definitely agree. Like, if Diane never told me about like zero down into deals, I wouldn't even have been here, taking a look at these properties in Salem. But it's insane, so I definitely agree.
Could you fill me in on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Like, long story short.
Yeah. I was, my goal was to get some multifamily on seller finance, and then stumbled upon this guy that was basically retiring, selling off his whole portfolio. And then Diane guided me through purchasing, a couple of his last units that he had available, through traditional and leveraging, to just buy cash instead of like going seller finance route, because that wasn't an option for him. And
Oh, gotcha.
that Diane got started with basically, and just planning on taking a personal loan and PML for the first deal, and still working out something to get down the second one.
Oh, nice.
To me, it's like really about, like I always say, as long as the numbers work, be creative, mix and match your financing. I mean, I just refinanced the property, like I was saying, to buy the one I'm about to buy now. When I bought that property, I used credit cards. I literally took loans out. Well, not loans, but I had convenience checks on my credit cards, and I used those convenience checks. I wrote them out to myself, took them to the bank, cashed them, and used them to buy this property. And granted, it wasn't like a huge amount. It was only like 23 grand plus the closing costs, but I was able to acquire it. And now I'm, looking, that property is worth so much more. It's more than quadrupled in value. And now I'm able to leverage a property that I bought with a credit card, well, multiple credit cards, to get, another property, you know what I mean? And then go from there. So there's just so many avenues and things that you can do. And, just like Kevin's story, his first property, he took a Best Egg loan. You know what I mean? Best Egg, you really don't even hear about them that much. You hear about them on like Credit Karma. So they're not like the prestige of personal loan spaces, but they do it. And he was able to acquire a property with it. And from that property, he was able to leverage it and get another one. and I won't steal his thunder because his story is fantastic. I'm super proud of like how far he's come, especially considering like, you know, I offered to partner on a deal with Kevin and he turned me down. He was just like, no, I don't think so. You're not what I'm looking for. So I was like heartbroken. I was like, he doesn't want to do a deal with me. Okay, I'm not as good as it like it's some humble pie I had to eat, but he's doing great things now.
Well, I would definitely partner with you now. Now that I know. Now that I know more, you gotta remember I was just little baby Kev back then.
No, you're scared. It's okay though. But you know, I am sad because that was a really good deal. And we looked back on it. Him and I had a conversation and we were like, man, we should have bought that house. And I said, no, I was like, I should have bought it without you.
Yeah, we definitely should have got that one for sure. And looking back on it now, yeah, hands down, it was an amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I got Pittman instead, and that was pretty good too.
Yeah.
So things come up all the time. Like there's always going to be another deal around the corner. Like sometimes when I'm like running low on funding, I will literally tell my agent, like, don't send me anything. Don't, because I'm just going to be mad because there's always another deal. Like you're always 2-3 emails away from another good deal. And I'll stop looking. Like I'll remove all the apps from my phone because I don't have any more money.
You tapped out.
Yeah, because sometimes, like, here's the thing, and it's something I tell everybody I work with: don't ever raid your reserves. But that's my toxic trait. Like, if I find a good deal, I will wipe out all my reserves. Like the money I have for like in case of roof leaks and I'll be scrambling later. But I'm just like, I don't care. This deal is great, and I gotta have it.
Yeah, because you're calculating the cash flow will probably just make up for it in a few months.
Yep, but the problem is, you know, you have to have a backup, and luckily my backup has been like I've always maintained at least, you know, I would say 5 to 10 grand available credit on credit cards. So if I ran into emergency, I have something, because when you're a landlord, you can't tell somebody, oh, sorry, I bought a new property. I'm sorry your roof is leaking. Like, can you use some pans or buckets or something? Like, you be okay for a couple months until I can recoup. You can't do that. You have to, like, there are people relying on you, and you have to be readily available to fix the issue. So making sure that you have some sort of reserves is a good thing. And I always caution you, like, don't tap your reserves. Keep them in a different bank, not even a bank account, a different bank than you keep the rest of your money. So that way you're not tempted. And that's what I try to do. And I try to coach that, and then figuring out where your reserves should be held, how much you should hold per property, per unit, whatever the case may be. And it's a personal choice of what you hold, because it's something that allows you to sleep at night. But ultimately, if you don't have enough in reserves and something happens, you could lose a chunk of your portfolio because somebody has to fix it. And if you don't fix it, your tenant can stop paying you rent. And there's no court that's going to deem them that they have to. They might have to put it in escrow, but you're still not going to get it. And that could be a problem if you're carrying debt on this property. And I know one of my goals personally, I was just talking to Kevin, so I'm gonna let you guys know my age. I'm gonna be 40 this year, and my goal by 45 is to be $2.5 million in debt, because I am leveraging, and I'm not gonna over leverage, because my goal is to just build up my real estate portfolio so that I have more equity. I don't want to be leveraged 100%, but I want to build it enough that I have that amount of money in debt, because it means my portfolio has grown enough to not only sustain myself and my family, but to sustain the employees I plan to have. And I encourage everybody to have a debt goal, because buying in cash is great, but the return on investment is very minimal. Like, you cannot get rich without debt, and debt is tax-free. Income, you're paying taxes when you get it. So you pay taxes when you make it, you pay taxes when you spend it. Like, you're being double and triple taxed on every dollar that you're not earning passively. But debt is tax-free.
So,
Is there a certain kind of debt that is tax-free and it's not tax-free?
All debt
All
is
debt is tax free, but you don't want. Here's the thing. So I want to be in real estate debt, not in consumer debt. Please do not go out and buy like a Lamborghini. Talking about, I was on the call with Diani and she said debt. No, we're not buying Jordans. We're not buying boats and cars. We are buying income producing assets. So if you want to launch like the next, no, because even them, like Uber, Turo, they don't own any of that stuff. So no, but all debt is tax free. So hypothetically, you have a house that you own. So that the house, Sean, that you're about to buy in Salem, you buy it for a certain price. Let's say hypothetically, just to keep the numbers round, let's say you're buying it for 25 grand, and then you get an appraisal and it's worth 100 grand. You can take $70,000 out, and that money is now all tax free. You can spend it any way you like. There's no tax. You're not gonna, when you go to file your taxes, that money will not count as income, even though you're spending it and you're living on it and you're doing what you want to do with it. You're buying more properties with it. That money will never be income. It was always debt. So you don't pay taxes on it at the end of the year. You don't claim it. Not to mention, because it's on the property, the income that you make for the property is written off against that debt. So if the mortgage now on this 70,000 that you took out is 500, and let's say you're making $1,000 a month in rent, you really only made $500. So it just cut your income in half technically, because you pre-spent that money. So it's a great way. And there are other tax benefits like depreciation. You'll be able to depreciate the house for 27 years or 27 and a half, something like that. So there are so many things that real estate will help when it comes to like your taxes, but you need a good CPA too. And I'm lucky I have an amazing CPA. So she takes care of all that stuff for me.
Awesome.
But no, you will never pay taxes on any kind of debt.
Gosh, the only reason why I asked, I got some misleading information from a really old guy that I met recently. Because, he basically has like no rental properties, but he just does just all syndications with his like 401k and a Roth IRA and all that stuff.
So I love syndications. It's definitely one of my goals, because that is truly passive real estate, especially if you can trust the syndicator that they're not just going to run off with your money. I don't know that I'd necessarily do it out of my 401k, because your 401k has tax advantages and I'm not sure they align correctly, but I would have to talk to my CPA. Same thing with like your Roth. There are already tax advantages with that. And I think when you dip into real estate with like a self-directed IRA and things like that, some of those advantages you miss out on. Like you don't get to double dip in them, but I'm not sure what they are.
Gotcha.
Just like I'm a fan of keeping my reserves in my Roth IRA, at least a portion of them, because your Roth, any money you contribute to it that's yours, you can get out penalty and tax free. You've already paid taxes on it. So you can withdraw at any time. You just have to be careful, because of course, if the stock market takes a dip, you could be, you know what I mean, losing money there, because you could be selling stock at a lower price than you bought it for. But if nothing happens, then you're making money on that reserve money.
100%.
So do you guys have any other questions? Like for me, anything I can answer for you, or anybody, does anybody want to pose questions to the group? You know, what's going on?
Is there a certain amount of time you have to wait for a cash out refi after you get tenants in place?
Yes, and I'll take that one, Di. Yes and no. It depends on the lender, really. I had a lender that would do it immediately. I have a lender that does it immediately. But then I also have worked with other lenders that told me straight up, no, you have to wait, 6 years, or not 6 years, 6 months, before you can, cash out refi. The tenants have to be there for 6 months. I've recently had one that told me I have to wait a year for the property to be stabilized before I can even, you know, put an application in to do a cash out refi. So it really just depends on the lender that you're working with. If there's a lender that's telling you no, hang up with them, call the next one.
Is there, what is the typical LTV that you come across?
That varies too. It's going to be anywhere between like 65 and 80%, depending on the lender. The smaller banks or the small local banks are going to end up, you know, they tend to be more lenient and give you closer to that 80%. And you know, the ones that are more popular, the bigger banks are going to be a little bit more conservative with lending on it.
Gotcha.
Just in my
So
experience.
my current refinance actually does not have any tenants in it. It is empty. Because of this, I could only get out 60%.
Okay. Thank you. That helped.
No problem.
Definitely.
And then another one, for these lower priced, you know, property, most people like, you know, there's some loan officers that say, hey, that's too cheap of a property to DSCR out of. What's your guys' thought on that? Because, you know, you guys have done these deals with very, you know, cheap properties.
Me personally, I haven't done any DSCRs yet. I know when just talking to Diani about it, a lot of lenders that do the DSCRs, they won't issue a loan under 100 grand. So for me, I've just worked with local banks and they're happy to take on the properties, and loan on them. My first one on Carter Street, that was a $50,000 loan. They just put it under a commercial loan. It was amortized over 20 years with a with a 5-year balloon. Yeah, even when I went to purchase Jackson Street, I bought Jackson Street for $65,000. They gave me a loan for 80% of it, so $52,000. Same terms, 20-year amortized, 5-year balloon. So it really depends on the bank.
And then what do you do at the 5-year mark?
So at the 5-year mark, you go back to the bank and you renegotiate the terms. So more than likely what's going to happen is the interest rate is going to change, depending on, where the interest rate of the market is at that time.
Okay, and then you just negotiate to stretch that out, or just make a whole new loan?
That I'm not really clear on yet. Di, do you know how that works at that time?
So it is going to depend on the lender. Some lenders will allow you to stretch it out and just continue your current terms for another set of terms, so another 5 years. Some lenders will make you refi and just start a new term at whatever the current rate is.
Gotcha. And then what if they don't, negotiate with you? What if they're like, no, I need to be cashed out?
It's not really in their best interest to not negotiate with you, especially if you've been a good paying customer, because at the end of the day, they're making money off of the interest. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you would have a problem with that. But I mean, if they don't want to continue for whatever odd reason that is, I mean, then you would just have, they're going to call the note due and you'd have to make the payment to pay it off. But I don't think that is even logical for them to do. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but I foresee that being something very rare.
Gotcha. And if that was the case,
I agree.
Would you be able to just go get a loan from another bank and then pay this one off?
Yeah, you can definitely get another loan from another bank. And exactly that, yeah. Just refinance your current loan with A bank, with B bank, and B bank makes the payment to A bank.
Nice. And are you guys doing these smaller bank transactions through your personal name? Or is it also an option to use your LLC through, since this property might be in so-and-so LLC?
Both. When I first started, I didn't have an LLC, so I, put everything into my personal name, and now I'm using my LLC. So you can do it either way.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice.
Mhm.
I think it's about choosing which one gives you the better conditions. So I have a couple mortgages that are under my personal name, and I have the choice now to move them into my LLC or refinance them. But the rates are so low that I know I would be taking a hit, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So unless I'm planning to like really cash them out to leverage them into another property, or I'm doing something, on a personal level that I need this money for, I'm probably going to ride them out under my personal name until it's time to put a new mortgage on them.
Smart. Then that's typically how it should be done anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, as the new ones come up, so I have a couple properties, so I have multiple LLCs now. But one thing that I've noticed, so I'll give you a perfect example, something I went through really recently. So I have a property in the city of Philadelphia, and at the time I only had one LLC. And I was just like, you know what? I had a lender, there were some terms that they could not do legally if it was under my personal name. And the original refinance was supposed to go under my personal name, and they called me up and they said, hey, Di, like this lender wants to pull out unless you have an LLC. We can put this under, because by law in PA, we can't charge you this prepayment penalty unless it's under an LLC. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like I have an LLC, you can stick it in this. And then the title company calls me, or not the title company, the closing agent calls me, and she's like, hey, for your LLC, because it was formed in New Jersey and this property is in PA, we need this form, and it's going to cost like $500. I'm like, well, for $500, I just open an LLC.
Right.
So I was like, all right. Then before I could even make a decision, they called me and said, hey, when you transfer property in the city of Philadelphia from your personal name to an LLC, they charge you transfer tax. And in the city of Philadelphia, transfer tax is 4.278% of not the refinance price, of the fair market value. So
Same.
even though my loan was only 60% of the fair market value, I still had to pay transfer tax on the 100%. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing this again. So I'm going to set it up correctly. So I was like, all right, so I'm not going to get the foreign good standing or the operating outside of state agreement. I'm just going to spend the money, open the LLC that I know eventually I want it to be in permanently, and I'm going to move it in there so that I'm not stuck paying this $8,000 in transfer tax again.
Right.
So I think that goes to, and you have to really think again about your long-term goals and where you see things going and what you want your portfolio to look like, because deciding how many properties to go in your LLCs, how many LLCs do you need, all these things cost money. They increase the amount of taxes you pay at the end of the year, or not the amount of taxes you pay, but the amount you pay for tax preparation is increased by the number of LLCs you have. The fees that you have to pay to renew them and keep them up is increased. So you have to think about like where you want things. And if they're not in the right LLCs to begin with, the fees that it's going to cost you to move them into the correct LLCs.
Mm.
So right now, I'd say that my market is probably South Florida. That's what I'm going to start to focus on. Sometimes, occasionally, I might come across like agents that like work the market, Kevin, Diane. How can I like connect them with you guys, or like introduce you to like those agents or investors?
I'm sorry. Can you say
Definitely.
that again? I didn't get the whole thing.
Oh, no, I was just saying right now, like my market is in South Florida. So that's like primarily what I'm going to be focusing on. But if I do come across agents or investors that work your markets, Kevin or Diane, how do I get them in touch with you guys? Like,
I mean, for me personally, I am very readily available on social media. I can also shoot you my information. And they're welcome to like shoot me an email, shoot me a text message. Any of those things work for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much the same here. I have cell phone, email.
Can I put my phone number in a chat and you guys just text me over your numbers?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Or you know what? If we all want to share information, I can put my information in the chat.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
then
perfect.
you guys can have it too.
Gotcha.
So I know for me, I definitely want to see this become like a regular call.
Yeah.
Are there like topics that you guys want to cover?
I think this is perfect, just how you guys like are going about it right now. If there's a topic or anything I'm having difficulty with, I'll definitely like reach out to you or message you, text you. But I think it's awesome. Like, thank you for letting me be a part of this. I think it's great just to like network, connect, keep each other on top of things. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
I think so too. Awesome. So I'm glad that you guys are finding it useful. That's definitely something I want. I want you guys to, because we've been on the phone, like an hour and a half at this point. So I want to make sure that it's an hour and a half well spent for everybody.
Right.
Yep, definitely.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna do these like once a week, guy?
I don't know, maybe once every other week. We'll see.
That's
We'll see
better.
what everybody's schedule looks like and go from there.
Yeah, every 2 weeks is nice because then it gives us time to really see what everyone's been up to.
Yeah. And if you guys are,
And I know,
coming upon anything in your daily lives or anything you want to chat on Zoom with us, definitely there's some content going
yeah,
here.
and I mean, Kevin, you and I have the live on Friday mornings now. I
Mhm.
talk to Sham. We talk a lot now. Don't get jealous, Kevin. It's okay. I still talk to you the most.
I'm so jealous.
So, I think I talk to Kevin like every day. It's so bad. Kevin's like my second husband. So yeah, I think, and I have some other stuff going on. With the new stuff I just launched, like the memberships and stuff. So I just have to make sure we have time. But I think every other week, as long as everybody's schedule works, is good. Don't forget to check us out on live. We'll be on TikTok every Friday at 9. And I know, Sham, you've been getting on. Thank you so much for your support. But it's been fun. Like, we did a walkthrough. I wish my service would have been better last time, but we did a great walkthrough of the one property I'm looking at. So I definitely want to do that more often. And I want to see what you guys are working on too.
Yeah. for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Hopefully by the next time we can get some deals in the pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, this is awesome. And then I'm going to put these recordings on your YouTube and just get you the link for it. That way, anybody that misses out on anything, you could just send them the link. That way they can view the entire thing.
I think that's awesome. So I appreciate everybody's time. Like I said, I'm so glad you guys found it useful. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again next time and see what you's going on.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
you guys.
Absolutely.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Later.
you.